So you're in good shape. You know the theory behind HTML, you've learned some basic tags you can use to make your first page, and you know how to set that page up using Komodo Edit. What I would suggest for this video is that you follow along with me as we put together this simple HTML page. And feel free to pause as many times as you need to. What's important is that you're as comfortable as possible with these basic steps so we can get to the more fun stuff soon. So what you see in front of you when you open this index page is the basic HTML5 skeleton that Komodo Edit has written for you. The doc type is always something associated with an HTML5 page. You don't need to worry too much about that except to make sure it's there. The HTML tag likewise surrounds everything else, so should always be there for you. You'll notice the opening and closing head tag and the opening and closing body tag. The head tag is what's important but doesn't display. The body tag is what does display on the screen. So we're going to add each one of the tags we talked about in the last video to this page, and in so doing we're going to make your first HTML5 page. Before we do that though, let's change the title of the page. How would you do that? Well, the thing to know is that every HTML element has an opening tag, here it is for title, a closing tag, there it is, and the content itself. So if you change from page title to my first HTML5 page, that will create a new title for you. Anytime you'd like to preview in Komodo Edit, you can click on this, what looks like a little planet icon. There's an arrow next to it. You can see you can choose from that list which browser you'd like to use. Click Save. You can click Preview in that case, and then you'll be able to see your page, how it would look if you were to put it on the internet. So as you can see, nothing's in the body tag yet, so this is empty, but we can see the title. So our first step is to add some content to the body. So let's start by adding an H1 tag. And you go ahead and try and see if you can add an H1 tag that says this is a heading. Excellent. Now let's add a second text tag, a paragraph tag, which is P. And go ahead and add this is the UMass website in a paragraph tag. All right. Now, what you'll start to notice, and it's important to mention this in action as we build a page, is here's where we start getting into the nesting language. So the vocabulary we use for that are parent tags and child tags. So in this case, the paragraph tag is the child tag of the body tag, and the body tag is the parent tag of the paragraph tag, but it's also the child tag of the HTML tag. So I hope I didn't confuse you there. That's just terminology you might hear me or other people in web design use. It is a nesting language, and you can put tags and elements inside of other tags and elements. Along those lines, what would we do if we wanted to add a link to the UMass website? That's right. We would add an A tag, an anchor tag, around the words UMass and website. So go ahead and do that. We need to do one more thing to make this A tag work, and that's add an attribute, because we need to tell the computer what link it should go to. For A tags, the attribute you use to do that is called href, H-R-E-F. The way you write an attribute is you put one space after the tag, you write the name of the attribute, an equal sign, quote, and then the value of the attribute. So in this case, it would be A space href equals quote http ://umass.edu, and then end quote, and then end the opening tag. Easy to forget those quotation marks, but if you do, your computer won't understand what you want. That HTTP is important. That's what creates an external link to a website. Finally, we're going to add an image tag to the page. Now, the IMG image tag is slightly different than some of the other tags we've talked about, and that's because it doesn't have a closing tag. Meta is similar. Most tags do, IMG doesn't. So we're going to type that in, img, and image has a series of associated attributes with it. The most important being src, which is source, the source of the image. You're telling your computer where it should go to get the image. So what I've done is provided you a picture I took of UMass in spring that you can find at this URL that you see on the screen. What we can do is we can put that image into our page in two different ways. And in so doing, we can use that to talk about file paths, which sounds pretty boring, but is really important to making your pages function properly. The first thing we can do is add an attribute src equals quote, and then just copy and paste the entire external URL into those quotation marks, end quote, and that will actually display the image from that external page. We also need to add a width and a height attribute. Those should be in pixels, and for this picture, it's 500 pixels by 375 pixels. So good job, you just made your first HTML page. I think the easiest way to understand how a computer understands the paths it takes to get to files is to just show you. If the image was out in the open, this is what the source image path would look like. If the image was inside of a folder called images, that path would look like this. And if the image was in a folder called small images, and that folder was inside another folder called images, the path would look like this.